Stories Heal Everything is a series designed to shed light on various women's issues and how we navigate those issues by the grace of God the Father as our compass. When a woman tells her story, mountains move out of the way. Baby, she speaks.
Hey, I'm Stephanie Outen. I'm the host of She Speaks. I'm 50 years old. I'm in Tampa, Florida, and I am divorced. I know that marriage is going to be even greater the second time around. I'm a woman who speaks because I know stories heal everything.
Hi, my name is Tammy. I am 42 years old, born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I am a single woman that believes in marriage, and I am a woman who speaks because I know stories heals everything.
My name is S.H.E. I'm originally from Tampa, Florida, a true Floridian. I'm 46 years old. I am divorced. I'm a mother of two. I love God and I love shoes. And I am a woman who speaks because I know stories heal everything.
Hello, my name is Eva Johnson. I'm originally from New York. I moved to Florida in 2005. I am divorced. Marriage is no joke, but I am a woman who speaks because I know stories heal everything.
Hi, my name is Erica Thomas. I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm 50 years old. I'm single, but I believe in the sanctity of marriage. I also understand that marriage is no joke. I am a woman who speaks, and I believe that stories heal everything.
Our topic for tonight is marriage ain't no joke. It's a job, okay? And the topic context comes from 1 Peter 3:7, which says, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. So, if we enter into marriage with this understanding that husbands should honor their wives and that together, as husband and wife, we're heirs of the grace of life, then why does it feel like marriage is so hard? Why are marriages failing at every turn? Should single women still hold out hope for marriage when they see so many marriages ending in divorce? We'll discuss all these things and more on this episode of She Speaks. Ladies, thank you so much for being here with us tonight to talk about this topic, which is so near and dear to my heart. Marriage ain't no joke. Being a divorced woman, I know truly that marriage is not a joke. It really is a job. And I know when I got married, like so many women, we think we're going to get married and stay married forever, right? We don't think that this could possibly end up in divorce. And when it does, we're devastated, right? It becomes a situation where we're like, I don't even know how I'm going to survive this, but we do by the grace of God. And so, as we talk about this topic tonight, three of us here are divorced, two of us are single, and we know that I know for sure my desire is to get married again. You know, I've done a lot of healing work to get to the place of saying I'm ready to be married again. Some women may not be in that space. So I want us to just talk to each other, have a dialogue about marriage and the challenges, the things that maybe you all faced in your own marriages that we could share with the ladies who are single and desiring to be married so that, you know, we don't all run into the same pitfalls. And so I'd love to hear from you ladies in regards to, you know, how long were you married? Those of you who were married, and how long have you been divorced?
I was married for 10 years and I have been divorced now about 2.5 years. I got married because I thought it was the right thing to do at the time. I really didn't understand marriage. I didn't know that then, but what I know now is I wasn't ready for marriage at all. It was just something that I thought was the right thing to do because I didn't want to live in a world of sin, so to say. So that's how I ended up being married and staying in it so long.
When you say that, Shalon, about we don't want to stay in sin, and I understand that because while I was engaged for 2 years before I got married, but we were cohabitating, we were living together, we were having sex outside of marriage, and then we got married, and we were married for a total of 7 years, and I've now actually been divorced longer than I was married. I've been divorced for 8 years. 2 of the 7 years we were separated. So we were living in completely different households. And So it felt like the marriage had already ended 2 years before it actually ended. But so many of us, like you said, Shalon, we get into marriage thinking, you know what, hey, either we're living in sin, don't want to continue to do that because here we are as believers in Christ. We don't want to continue to go outside of God's will for us. So we get married thinking it's the right thing to do, when in fact, it's not.
So, to Shalon, like and even when Stephanie said, you did it so you're not living in sin, so to speak, and things like that, is it because it was like fear of God, or just like because you didn't want like the church to have anything to say why you did the marriage?
It was absolutely not a fear of God. It was absolutely everybody else, my family, going to church and just everybody around. It just seemed like the right thing to do because I didn't want to be judged by other people. So it had absolutely. I don't think I even thought about God when he wasn't in it.
Whoa, that's that's so good, right? We're more afraid of people than we are of God. And I think for me, it was a little bit different because my family knew. My family knew that, hey, I was cohabitating. I moved actually from Florida to a whole nother state to be with my fiance at the time. So they knew we were living together. And of course, imagine that we were doing all kinds of other things too. And for me, I was always convicted. I was always convicted. When I moved, I didn't even want to live in the same house with him. My intentions were to get my own place. But financially, I could not. After a move like that, and I did not have a job, I was like, I gotta move. He had a brand new house. He had all these rooms. I'm like, oh, I can sleep in another room. Yeah, right. That didn't happen. Right. But I was more convicted from my relationship with Christ. I didn't really care about what other people thought because, especially being that my family knew, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. But I spent those 2 years convicted, like, God, like, please forgive me every day. Please forgive me. How many times can you repent, but you keep doing the same thing, right?
Well, when I got married, I wasn't a believer. I wasn't saved, even though I grew up in a holiness church, a very strict holiness church. But as soon as I turned 18, I left that church. I had enough. Plus, I had a little baby at the time too, because I was young, a young mother, and I hid the pregnancy. 'Cause I didn't want anybody to know. But I ended up getting married, and we only stayed together 4 years. But we were doing everything. We were in sin. We were doing everything. We partied together. We drank. We did everything together. And it just, I felt God calling me. I felt a pull of God in the marriage. And my sister had said, come to church. I started going back to church, gave my life to Jesus Christ. And my ex-husband said, I'm not staying with you because he didn't want any parts of God. So 4 years into the marriage, he left and he was done with it. He said he didn't want any parts of me. He said that the wife I married is dead, and so that was the end of the relationship. And not only that, when I gave my life to Christ, I fasted, I prayed for him, I even laid hands on him and everything, hoping that he would come to Christ. And because I heard about stories about women that get married and their husband comes to Christ, not this one. And so he left, and that was it. We never ever really got back together, and he didn't want any parts of me whatsoever. It wasn't so much a love thing, it was more of a lust thing. We did everything together. It was like I lust after him, he lusted after me. So we had that in common. That was the common denominator. But God was like, I'm calling you. I just kept hearing him. Even in my sin, I just kept hearing him call me. You got to come back.
So you were married for 4 years. How long were you together total before you got married?
Oh, this is the crazy part. But I had already left the church, but we were together for 8 years.
Okay.
Sinning like crazy, partying, doing all kind of stuff. It was crazy. It was
And then the
crazy.
minute you gave your life to Christ, he was like, I'm out. He just walked out on you and the child.
Oh, that didn't mean anything to him.
Oh, just,
And he became very verbally abusive and everything. He never hit me, but he became very verbally abusive, and he didn't want any parts of Christ. He didn't want any parts of that. He even made fun of the church. He made fun of everything. He accused me of being with somebody in the church, and I'm like, I'm not with anybody. but that's because he was with other people. So he was accusing me of what he was doing. And he just didn't want to stay with me. And it was very hard. Because I was raised in a household where my parents were together for 32 years before my father got sick and, passed away. And so I believed in marriage. I thought that I would be, once I get married, I'm married forever, whether we were, you know, in church or not. I just thought that's the way marriage went. But I was devastated, and I really had a lot. I had a breakdown. I lost weight, everything. And the church I was going to, they recognized that because none of my clothes were fitting me. And I went all the way down. It was like 98 pounds. And because that's the effect that it had on me of him leaving, it really affected me to my core, to my heart. So I had to go through deliverance. I had to go through a lot of inner healing. I had to go through a whole lot in order to get over that.
I think the same as Eva, because I kept hearing a call, and I knew for many, many years that if I answered or if I even turned the page, that he wouldn't have been in it. I knew it, I could feel it, but I just couldn't accept it. So it was really just a lot of things happen. One of the things I know clearly, I was thinking about my father and how he was, and I realized I married someone just like my father, and I didn't like it. But it was the cheating, the lies, and the lies were like out of this world. I don't even know how I even believed them, but I just knew, I just felt something that this is not right. It has to be more. It just didn't feel right. And even with getting married, it was even being intimate with the person. I thought I had to put in my mind every time, I'm married to this person, I'm married to this person, but it did not feel like someone I wanted to be with, and it just felt off. And one of the things that he did say is that when we did meet, it's not that he said I believe in God. He said I believe there is a God, and that was something that I didn't even hear at the time. And he went to church with me faithfully, did everything he wanted to do, but he was there every Sunday. And out of 5 years that we went to church together, we never once rode to church together. Never once.
So
So he
you
had like a
went to
whole
church
secret life
separately.
going on, and I just didn't see it. But I knew that it was more that God wanted from me. And I knew that I had to, at some point, answer because I was miserable. So that's how it ended.
Shalon, I can relate, definitely relate. My ex-husband also did the same thing. It was like he had a whole secret life. He went from smoking weed, because we used to go to the weed parties and the coke parties, to going to coke. So I knew he did that. And then from there he went to crack, and that's what made it even worse. So once that happened, he made that covenant with crack, and it just took over his life. So, but the lies were off the charts. I've never heard lies like that in my life. I mean, bold face right in my face. Even the acting was incredible. I'm like, you okay? You all right? Oh no, I got hit. So somebody hit me. I got hit over the head. That's why I was away for 3 days. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? I mean, the lies was off the chart. I was so green and I was so gullible, and I was still trying to be a good wife. So I can definitely relate.
That's crazy. Look, I think, and the sad part is, so many of us that have been married and, are now divorced, unfortunately share a lot of the same stories as far as, if there was infidelity, the lies, the separate lives that have been lived. But that one right there, Eva, is hilarious. I got hit over the head, and that's why I've been gone for for 3 days. Oh God. See, it's stories like that had I never been married, I would say I don't even want parts of that. So Tammy and Erica, being that you have not yet gotten married, what are some of the things? Because I know before I got married, I fantasized about marriage. Right? I fantasized. I didn't always see the best representation of marriage. Not in my immediate family. In my extended family, I did, because my aunts and uncles, cousins were married and had great relationships. But in my immediate family, I didn't see that. So I had to fantasize, and the Huxtables were like my couple. I'm like, oh, I want to have a marriage like that. What were some of your, or what have been some of your thoughts about marriage that make you say, or even growing up, did you have those fantasies about marriage that now, as you're older, you've gotten a reality check, and having friends that may have gone through divorce, you see your marriage is really not a joke. It's a job. What are some of your thoughts on that?
For me, I can definitely say for a good long time, especially after got saved and was like, okay, this is the thing. It's like I got saved as a young adult. So at the church that I was going to as a young adult, that was the thing. It was like made up of young adults, and the thing was you supposed to get married now. And that was everybody's MO. Like, okay, who she's supposed to marry, who you supposed to, it was just a lot of drama around it. But there was such this fantasy idea about marriage, and that guided me for a lot of years. It wasn't until not just seeing relationships through the eyes of those that have gotten married, but even in my own relationships. Like there was somebody that I was with who was in the church. I mean, he heard the voice of God. It was all the things. But he literally, after looking back on it, he used marriage like it was a dangling carrot. It was a very, very manipulative tactics. And then I started getting revelation around, not just marriage being a job, but it does take work. And that there was the place of me knowing who God created me to be that was vital before anybody else could come into the picture. And it's like once I got the revelation around my identity and who God says that I am, that's when I started looking back and was like, oh my God, thank you for not allowing me to get married. Thank you for blocking this and taking this person out of my life. Because we would have been real jacked up together. For me, it was more so about understanding identity than it was age.
That was an issue for me too. I did not fully know who I was. I definitely didn't know who I was in Christ, but I didn't know who I was as a woman, and I found a lot of my identity in my then husband because I like lived and breathed him, wanting to do everything to make sure that he could be elevated. And I shrank, you know, because I just wanted to be married. And there was a level of desperation around it because I didn't see marriages succeed in my immediate family. And I was like, I got to latch onto this thing. And so, not knowing who I was and shrinking in his presence, he was able to flourish while I was dying inside, you know? And as I began to come into who God was calling me to be, and honestly, I did not begin to flourish until after the divorce. That's when I really got to step into who God was calling me to be. That's when I fully began to understand my identity and who God was, thrusting me into being was after we got divorced. But in the entire marriage, I struggled with my identity. And everything that I did it so that he could succeed. And I just pushed myself to the background.
I've had marriages in front of me, right? My parents were married. Like not a perfect marriage, but it was a marriage, that I saw that there was good and bad as all relationships because as it is, a job, you have to work together, right? But I think ultimately like seeing my grandparents, like just seeing them, like she always like catered to him, but I would always say I ain't that type of woman. And let me explain real quick. I'm not saying like I'm not gonna cater to my husband, right? But I think because I have Caribbean background, so my dad's parents are Bahamian, right? And so my grandparents, you would see them and like it was just like every beck and call, like wear my shoes or and I'm like, bruh, your shoes sitting right there. You can't open your eye. So it was just like, and it's funny because that was my 10-year-old mind, 12-year-old mind. But even now at 42, I'm like, I know, coming together in a marriage is going to be work, of course, right? But also having to compromise and do things like that. But yeah, I'm not about to. Your shoes right there, bruh. I'm gonna need you to go grab your shoes, please. Just grab them. But I don't ever want to be into a marriage where, and I think Stephanie said this, where um I'm in a shadow, where I have to make myself small to make you big. I feel like we both can be that, right? We both should work towards the both of us being that beacon of light for each other. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, oh, I need to go in the shadows so you can be the man, and because you're supposed to come into the relationship as the man anyway, right? I'm going to empower you just like as well as you should empower me. But yeah, I think that's just, not having to diminish who I am, because I have a big personality and I'm silly and things like that, and I would hate to have to turn that off just to validate or have a man feel like he's Superman.
Absolutely. But the thing is that um, I did shrink because I just believed what I was needing from him is what I was wanting from my father. So I shrink to the point that if I did everything that he wanted, if I lifted him up, when he gets to that place, he'll be able to pour back into me. So I thought of it that way. That is how I was thinking of it. So yes, and honestly, I didn't know myself. It wasn't until, of course, after that I'm going through the process of getting to know who I am. I That was never a thought, but now looking back, how much of myself did I have to lay to the side to accept some of the things that I did accept? So absolutely, I thought if I gave him what he needed or what I thought he needed, because I didn't know what he needed, that he would be able to give me back what I needed. I think it was the mindset of even the family that I came from. So now we would hear more about, people are openly able to talk, but I grew up at a time where you didn't have feelings. So you basically, whatever was given, you just had to accept it. So there was no safe space like it is now that we're able to talk about it. So if I was maybe at this age and saying, I could probably say yes, no, I wouldn't accept that, but I didn't know not to accept it because everybody in my past had accepted. It was only because I had an 8-year-old and I'm looking at her like, if I'm accepting this because my mom accepted this, what's going to happen to her? So I had to change it because I did not, it just was not right for me to see her go through what I went through at 8, for her to go through the same thing and be talking about it at 46. I wasn't going to have that. So that is really how the shift changed for me. But it's now that we were able to speak on that. I could have never went to my mom and say, well, why did you accept the abuse? Why did you, know that he was with other? I could never ask her that. I could never, and it probably would have been okay if I asked her and she would have been able to answer me honestly. But what part of you as a woman has to shut down to accept some things like that? I wouldn't want to admit that. I can admit it now because I'm open. But thinking back then, she would never be able to admit. I didn't think enough of myself. I didn't think I was worthy. He was older. I thought, he was paying all the bills. I have to accept it. We're just at a different age now where we don't have to accept it. But I didn't know I had a choice until I knew I had a choice.
That's a whole word. That's a whole word, Shalon. Oh, yes. Multiple claps on that. Eva, when you think about kind of where you are today, and you have a daughter as well, your daughter is an adult now, correct? And thinking about where you were back then, not really understanding who you were at the time in your marriage either, and just dealing with the things, what I like to term foolishness, that you were dealing with in your own marriage, having been out of that marriage now for so long and coming into who God has called you to be, what are some of the things that you have talked to your own daughter about, and how open have you been with her in regards to the things that happen with you in marriage so that she doesn't, go into some of the same things blind?
Well, it's funny you would ask me that because I talked to her about a lot of things, but there were a lot of bad things that happened that I did not tell her. So, and he was more the stepfather and he wasn't her paternal father because, I was a teenager, I got pregnant, and anyway, you know the story. So, and the sad thing about when you don't tell your children everything, they tend to repeat. And I made a lot of mistakes raising her. I was so hurt. I was so devastated. There was so many things. My mind was just like in turmoil when that happened, And one of the things that I did not tell her was some of the bad things that happened to me with him, with the abuse, the verbal abuse, and how he treated me. And so this was the sad thing that happened, was that recently her paternal father passed away, and she wanted to go to the funeral. She lives in North Carolina now. She wanted to go to the funeral in New York, and her stepfather, he found out, and so he, from that point, he met with her and disowned her and said if she went to the funeral, he would no longer be her father and this and that. Now this man, I mean, she grew up knowing him more than she knew her paternal father. So it was devastating to her. So what happened, see, the pattern is that the same thing he did to me, he did to her. And that's, I should have told her the whole story so she can be aware of it. But the thing about it is that she's such a sweet daughter that she said, "Ma, I'm going to forgive him." She said, "Because that's the right thing to do." I said, "Okay." She said, "Aren't you?" I wanted to, like, you said that to my child. Anyway, I let you adopt my dog, anyway. So I was so mad. I was so mad. It was only the Holy Ghost. It was only God that restrained my mouth, restrained every part. And he tried calling me to talk to me. And the Holy Spirit told me, don't answer the phone, because I was about to go off. Because when it comes to your children, you want to fight somebody, you will go to jail, you will find a gun. I'm telling you, when it comes to your children, that came from you. It's different. It's so different the way you want to protect them. And so that's some of the regrets that I have with that. And I think I could have did better. But she's doing very well, thank God. And the good part about it is that I have grown. I have, God has healed me. He has delivered me. I'm free to live again and get married again. And I let her see the God in me, and how, all of that is still, it didn't kill me, it didn't destroy me. And so she sees the strength. And she recently said, "Ma, all my bills are paid, and I got this and I got that." So she is really moving and going forward by me just mentoring her now, me just sharing with her stories. I had to tell her what happened, because we as parents, we're like, we want to hold the bad back from them. But sometimes you have to tell them the whole story. And I think if I had told her the whole story, I don't think she would have got hurt the way she was.
That's good. Amen. Amen. Now, hearing some of these things, and I could go into horror stories about marriage, but I'm not going to, right? Because what I see, especially from my marriage and the divorce and where I am today in the healed place, that I would rather speak from that place, right, of the healing. Because, yeah, there was a lot of turmoil. Coming into the marriage, I dealt with rejection and abandonment issues. I dealt with father wound issues. So I brought those things, those broken pieces, into the marriage. And here we bring broken pieces, and both of us bring broken pieces, and we think the broken pieces are supposed to make a whole. And all you do is bring a bunch of broken pieces, and it's just a mess, right? And no one's willing to take the opportunity to say, hey, I think we both need to do some healing work so that we can come together, cohesively. And so now, being in that healed place and knowing that I want to be married again, I want to ask Erica and Tammy, being in the in singlehood or singleness or whatever the word might be, where you are today, what makes you desire marriage? Having walked with some of your friends through their marital journey, through their divorce journey, what makes you be at the table today, still able to say, I want to be married?
Woo, I mean, if I could have somebody to come help me with some of these bills, I'm just playing. But in all seriousness, but listen, I'm gonna be for real. Isn't that part of what we want a helpmate for? Like, if we could be for real, if we could be for real,
I agree.
like, I mean, that's not the only thing I'm getting married for. Of course, I want to get married because, or I desire to be married because I want to have, that companion or lifelong partnership to just do other things with besides, the daily life bills, works, and things like that, right? Um, and we're supposed to, like, everybody, well, for the most part, there's a helpmate out there for majority of us, right? And I know mine is out there, and I'm waiting on them. I think I told God, I was like, can you just let me go to the bakery and bake mine up? Like, cause I know I don't have to help you, but can we? But yeah, I'm not in a rush. I'm waiting on his timing. But no, I think, like I said, just that companion, right? That companionship of of your lifelong partner. I know it's like we have best friends and cousins that we can talk to, but you want somebody, you want your own person, right? So yeah.
Tammy, if you were to bake him up, what would be some of the ingredients?
Ooh, let me see. Dark chocolate. Some cinnamon and some nutmeg. Let me see, with some height on them. With some good height on them, right? Um, yeah, with some good height. He can have a little nice beard on him. A couple of tattoos. I'm okay with that. Loyalty, respect, nurturing, caring, giving, nurturing, and being all right in the bedroom is good too. Yeah, because I need him not to lack over there either. He got to be all right in all departments. So yeah, that's
This
that's
is
my
why I
man.
love Tammy.
That's my man. I'm baking up.
Thank you,
Uh
Tammy.
huh.
I love your honesty. Thank you
You're
for
very welcome.
truthful Tammy. I love it.
That's the only way I know how to be.
Yes. And so as you bake him up, right, you make your list, you put it before the Lord, and then you just pray and say, Father, here's my list, but have your will, have your way, right? We're going to pray that you're going to bring some of these things right here to pass.
Right, and remember, he cannot be a deacon. Remember,
Right. No pastors,
he
no
cannot be.
deacons, no ushers, none of those things.
Well, he
Say,
could be an usher. He could be an
yeah,
usher, but not no deacon or no pastor.
no deacon and no pastor, Lord. So we're putting that before you now. Lord, no deacon and no pastor for Tammy, okay? From Tammy
Cause,
from Miami. Okay.
cause he's still working on me, and the way some people are in church, I might not be the first lady anymore, or it just won't be a church. So let's just avoid that. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to pray. Avoid it altogether, Lord. Erica, what about you? What makes you still want to get married? And what would be in the cake that you would bake, in the man that you would bake if you had the opportunity?
I feel like this, that question just got added because that wasn't like the initial question, but thanks to Tim.
And did. And so Shalon
Oh.
and Eva, get ready because you're going to get the same question. And did. Go ahead, Erica.
I would say for me, I had to get to the place where I no longer idolize marriage. And the thought of not getting married used to, like, I just couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine not being married. And there was one point where I was just having this like time with the Lord. And I was like, God, if you make me feel like this, I'm like, I don't know what my husband gonna be able to do, kind of thing. And God was like, you know, I hope you don't think that your husband is going to replace me. Like, he is not a replacement for me. The relationship that I'm going to bring you into is going to be a complement to the relationship that you have with me. And so when I started realizing that, it wasn't so much as I desired marriage as I desired this experience with someone else that would be coupled with my partnership with God. It was like this whole other existence that is waiting for me and available, but it doesn't diminish the single me and the relationship that I have with God. It's only a compliment. It's not like I'm missing anything. And that's what I used to think, that I was missing something. So my desire right now is like, this gonna be cool. And even if it's not God's will for me, just like the Hebrew boys, they said, even if God don't deliver us, what we not gonna do is bow down to your God. And that's how I feel about marriage. I don't idolize it. I respect it. I respect what it is. I understand that it's not this fantasy that this whole fantasy thing. But if I had to put my ingredients list together, it would, one, be, I'm not opposed to like deacon, pastor. I don't do titles. I do relationship. So it's like, I care less what your title is. I don't even care if you really at church like that. My goal is, what does your heart posture look like towards my God? Because that's like top on the list. And you got to be able to be silly and quirky and not take yourself seriously like that, because I know I like to have fun and laugh and play and joke, and that's just me. I'm very youthful at heart. I don't care that I'm 50. I used to fight that, but now I'm okay with that. And you have to like Tammy said, be respectful and things of that nature. And one of my pet peeves is, you can't have these gender roles outlined in your head. Like, you can't think that I'm a clean up because I'm a woman, or that I'm a cook because I'm a woman. Like, I'm not going to expect you to take out the trash or wash my car, or fill my tank up. Will I like that you would do that? I would like, and I would appreciate it very much if you did. However, common space, as Tammy would say, I that's not a requirement. It's not something that I'm expecting. I'm not. It's not a deal breaker for me if you don't have the. I know if you come home and there's dust, and you looking at me like, why is there dust? I'm be like, did you see it first or did me? Because I thought you saw it first, so you get it. That's how I feel. Physically, there are things that I like, and that there are things that I don't like. But they're not deal breakers.
That's so good, Erica. I appreciate that, and Tammy, I thank you for starting that whole, baking up a man, because Shalon and Eva, they're gonna get their chance too. I saw Eva over there writing. She was like, "Lord, let me get my ingredients list together, cause I'm about to bake me a man." You hear me? She was like,
I honestly cannot answer that question, and I'm going to tell you why. From the time that I can remember, mostly my adult, I have not been in a relationship, whether it was marriage or just in a relationship. I have always been in a relationship. This is the first time that I have actually been single. So I'm enjoying getting to know who I am and what I like and what I dislike. So that's not even a thought in my mind right now. What I can say is, I ask God daily, prepare me to be a wife. Show me what it looks like to be a wife. Prepare me in that sense. But I don't. It's just not. I'm sorry, I can't answer it. It's just not a thought that I have, because I'm really starting to fall in love with who I am, and I just enjoy this time, and I don't want to rush the process. I don't want to be ahead and say, okay, I want it has to be like this. I don't even want to think about it. I want it to flow. And so I told you mine will be very quick. I'm falling in love with Shalon. So not a thought.
I love it. See, Shalon about to make me cry just because I've known her. I knew her in pre-marriage, then marriage, and now through divorce. And being able to see her fall in love with Shalon is one of the greatest gifts ever, because what she has done is she has now allowed her daughter to see that, and what it looks like to truly love yourself first. Love yourself first, so that you don't pour from an empty cup into someone else who's also empty, right? Because what are you doing? You both dry, right? And so I just appreciate seeing that in you and seeing you love on yourself and allowing God to love on you the way He's always wanted to love on you. So I thank you for sharing your list of loving yourself.
I believe that God He really designed marriage for all of us, for us to be with someone, to be with, women with men, men with women. I really believe that um, sin marred the very image of God. So everything is topsy turvy. And it's a matter of us making a decision and getting back to God's original intent and design. Because I was thinking about, as you were talking, I was thinking about Genesis chapter 2, where when God created Eve, He brought Eve to Adam, and then He says she was comparable to him. So I believe that we, as those that are single, everyone is single, God's going to give us someone who is comparable to us. And that's what I believe. I don't want anything that I had before. I want God's original intent for me. So, so this is real funny, you guys, okay? So I asked God, I said, God, okay, so this was my bacon list. I want whoever this man is, I want him to be like you. I want Jesus Jr. And everybody told me, "Are you crazy? What's wrong with you?" I said, "He got to be like Jesus." Because Jesus, the time I've been single, Jesus has been everything to me. I pray He does it. I think He does it. He's taken such good care of me. I'm like, how can a man take care of me like Jesus does? But when it's your time for Him to send someone to you, and you're going out, you're going places, and that right man come, I'm telling you, you will be ready. Like, He gets your whole being from your head to toe ready for this set person that He has for you. So my list is that he has to be like Jesus. Okay. Well, I have to guess, I have to cross that off. But close to Jesus. Okay. He has to cover me in prayer because I do a lot in ministry. So I got to have somebody that knows how to pray. If the only thing you know is the Lord's Prayer, okay, you for somebody else, not you, not for me. I want someone who we flow together, we laugh together, because I can be really serious and really crazy. I just love to laugh. And he has to be healthy. I don't want somebody got to wheel. God forgive me. I don't want somebody got to be wheeling around. No, God, please don't give me something. No. I want him to be nice. And I also want someone who communicates. Don't just sit there quiet. Like, I can't. Let's talk it out. Let me know what's going on. Let's communicate. That brings me to, please, God, let him be mature. Let him be mature so he knows how to communicate. He knows how to love. He knows how to be the husband that you designed for me. He's comparable to me and I'm comparable to him. I believe I'm ready for that now. I wasn't ready for that early on because, and there's something, I just want to say this. There's something that was put in our singles ministry page, Facebook page today that said, um, what has, since you've been single, what's the pros and cons, or how do you feel, or whatever. So I said, well, the pros of being single is that I can do whatever I want whenever I want to do it. The cons is that I still got to do stuff I don't want to do. Like, I don't want to take my car to be serviced. I don't want to, get gas. I don't want to pay all the bills. I'm like you, Tammy. I don't want to pay all the bills. I don't want to take care of anything. Anything go wrong in the house, I got to find a repair person to fix the window, fix this, fix that. I don't want to cut the grass anymore. So, God, so God knows. But the thing about it, and the last thing I'll say, is that God knows what you need. He knows what you need, and he will send you the person that you need. And he'll be somebody you can actually look at, and he's handsome to you. I don't want a fixer upper that I gotta, like, okay, so you have no teeth, you have no hair, you missing an ear. I don't have creative miracles. I don't do that. No, not yet. I don't know. So yeah. I know I have a weave on now. I know I have a weave on now, but underneath I do have hair. It's just not done. It's in a bun, okay? So,
Look, I I love all of that, right? Because it speaks to your honesty, right? And the fact that we can be transparent with God like that. He wants us to be. Because when you said Jesus Jr., I was like, yep, let me write that down. Jesus Jr. Okay. What else you say? Let me write that down. And I love that because God does want us to come to him transparently, but he does know what we need. And so when we're able to say, God, give me what you know is best for me, because I had what I asked for, right? I had those things, whether it be in my ex husband or in other guys that I dated. I had those things, but I didn't have what God said I needed, right? But one thing I'll say is I also want to make sure, like Shalon said, one of the things I always say is, God, prepare me for what you have prepared for me. And so if I'm still broken in places and still need to heal, then I don't want him to be in that place too. I want him to be healed in those places where I'm still broken so he can help me to heal in those places. I need him to be able to cover me in the realm of the spirit and in the natural because I know the weight that I carry in the spirit. And I need him to be at that same level or higher, right? Because I don't need to be stepping heavy in the spirit and you over here immature in the spirit because I've worked hard to get to this level and God has truly conditioned me and stepped me into the place where I am today and I'm still growing and I need you to be at that level or higher. So I need him to be spiritually, emotionally, physically, in his soul mature, right? All those things. I need him to be compassionate. I need him to be loyal. I need him to not be a liar. I don't need a liar. I am sick and tired of lies, right? I need him to be truthful. I am a communicator, like Eva said, so I need him to be a communicator. I don't need you to be a bump on a log sitting over there quiet when I'm talking and want to have dialogue, right? But I also need that man who knows that when I'm at level 20, he knows how to bring me down to level 1 because he has a calm spirit and his calm spirit can calm me down. Because Erica, Tammy, they know me. I can get high. I can get up here. And I need him to be able to bring me down. And you know, so I can make my list, right? But I let God be the eraser. I'm so grateful. I'm so honored that each of you ladies took the time out of your night, you know, with your families, with yourself, whatever it is, to spend the time talking about marriage, talking about singleness, because marriage ain't no joke. It truly is a job. And if we're not equipped, and I think I said this at some point, not sure if it was in the show or pre-show, that sometimes we can go into a job and the hiring manager thinks that we're equipped because on paper everything looks good, right? And we interview really, really well. And then we get in the job and we realize we're not fully equipped for all the job responsibilities that it takes to do the job, right? And so, what I pray for each and every one of us and for everyone who will watch is that we make sure that we don't just look good on paper, that we don't just interview well, that we truly have the qualifications, the skill sets, the wherewithal to actually be able to do the job that it takes to be in marriage, especially a kingdom marriage with kingdom love. Like that's my desire, that we get to experience that and that we get to do the job. And when we do the job and we do it well, that God says, well done, my good and faithful servants. That's what I desire for all of us to step into when we get married. I'm gonna say when, when we get married. And if we don't, God, that's okay too, because you are enough for all of us. So I thank you, ladies. This has been such a blessing. Eva, Tammy, Shalon, Erica, thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of Marriage Ain't No Joke. It's a Job, the She Speaks episode. Thank you, ladies.